Hello and welcome to another TLDR EU video. 2020 was a year full of worry, working from home and speculating about vaccines. But for Germany, 2021 is set to be a super election year, with a number of major elections scheduled to take place. As we've covered on the channel before, Angela Merkel, a political titan in Germany and beyond, is set to leave the political stage, which means that all eyes are on the future of her party, the Christian Democratic Union. Can they win re-election? Will their new leader be as successful? And will they be able to survive without Merkel? Well, things haven't gotten off to a great start. In last week's regional elections, the CDU performed poorly, with the results in their two former strongholds earmarked as some of their worst ever. So in this video, we'll take a look at what this means for Germany, the CDU, and their new leader. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel to get all of our updates on European politics. Also, if you want to go further afield, check out our new international channel, TLDR Global. The link to that is in the description. Thanks so much for your support. First things first, what happened in last week's elections? Well, on Sunday, German voters in two western states, Baden-Württemberg and Rhineland-Palatinate, went to the polls in regional elections. And the results weren't exactly the best for the CDU. In Baden-Württemberg, where the CDU has been by far the most dominant for decades, the party managed to get just 24% of the vote, down 3% from 2016, with the incumbent Green Party holding firm at 32%. In Rhineland-Palatinate, the story is more or less the same. The CDU went from 31.8% in 2016 to just 27.7%, with the incumbent Social Democrats maintaining their comfortable lead with 35.7% of the vote. This is both a symbolic and an actual blow for the CDU, who hope to regain the region in light of the fact that it's the home state of Helmut Kohl, the CDU chancellor that ultimately oversaw German unification. But why does any of this matter? Well, these two regional elections in former CDU strongholds were major tests for their new leader, Armin Laschet. The results in the two regional elections won't exactly fill the party with confidence in his leadership, nor will it help his chances of being chosen as the party's candidate for the chancellorship later this year. That's important because while Laschet is the CDU's leader, it doesn't actually mean he'll end up being their candidate for the chancellorship. That's because the CDU puts forward a candidate together with its sister party, the Christian Social Union. With Merkel at the helm of the CDU for decades, the CSU never really got the chance to even put forward a candidate, let alone a candidate with the experience and appeal of Merkel. Even before the regional elections, there was a huge discussion about whether Laschet or Markus Söder, the CDU leader and Minister-President of Bavaria, would be a stronger candidate, with many in the CSU and even CDU favouring Söder. Anyway, back to the election. Wolfgang Schäuble, president of the Bundestag and one of the longest-serving politicians in German history, tried to deflect the result, emphasising that it wasn't a failure of his party, but simply the success of personality, saying that for the CDU it is not a nice evening, but that was predictable. In this election, the personalities of state premiers are by far the most important factor. Although Schäuble does have a point, incumbents generally do tend to do well in their elections, it would be a vast overstatement to say that it was solely due to personalities of the state premier that the CDU lost these elections. That's because the CDU hasn't exactly had the best few weeks in the run-up to the local elections, having been hit by a number of scandals. Earlier this month, Nicholas Lubel, an MP for Merkel's CDU, announced his immediate resignation after it was revealed and subsequently confirmed that he'd acted as a middleman between a mask supplier in Baden-Württemberg and two companies in the state, earning him a commission of €250,000. Just 2 days before that, the deputy leader of the ruling CDU-CSU parliamentary group announced his departure from the CSU over allegations that he'd earned €600,000 from brokering such agreements. He's also currently being investigated for corruption, with the police raiding his Bundestag and constituency office in Bavaria. He has, however, denied all allegations of corruption. A further 2 CDU MPs are facing scrutiny though. Axel Fischer is suspected for corruption, and the Bundestag have even lifted his parliamentary immunity, allowing him to be investigated and, if so needed, tried. As well as Philipp Amthor, who caused somewhat of an uproar after claiming he was not being paid for lobbying work on behalf of Augustus Intelligence, before later revealing that he had received thousands in stock options. So it's clear that CDU politicians had a rough few weeks leading up to the election. And even before that, the CDU's chances were somewhat suppressed in the light of the slow rollout of vaccines in the country, as well as the EU's joint procurement programme, blame for which is being laid at the CDU's feet. Part of the delay in vaccination rollout could be attributed to the actual platform the Germans are using for people to get appointments. According to the Financial Times, visitors to the German portal have to go through 10 online steps, including two-factor authentication, a tricky task for an octogenarian. In Poland, by contrast, you can simply enter your social security number. When describing the portal, a German health official proceeded to use a number of expletives before stating that he and his colleagues want to shoot ourselves, it's so bad. I can't believe we chained ourselves to this. The vaccination system got further criticism when, in the state of Lower Saxony, it proceeded to send invitations to dead people. Yet again, the blame for this is being laid, rightly or wrongly, squarely at the government's feet, and by extension, squarely at the CDU. Jürgen Falter, a political scientist at Mainz University, stressed that the procurement scandal might be the piece of straw that breaks the camel's back, adding insult to injury. People were already blaming the CDU for the slow start to the vaccination campaign, and for broken promises on mass testing, and now for this. Trust in the party is dwindling, and this will only speed up that process. In fact, if things weren't bad enough already, the picture is unlikely to improve for the CDU, in the light of the fact that, as everyone knows, Merkel's time is running out. Some are claiming that Merkel is facing stiffer and stiffer opposition from state governors when it comes to coronavirus policy, opposition and conflict that's only bound to get stronger. All of this, when taken together, the poor election results, the procurement scandals, and the issues with the coronavirus response, don't exactly paint the rosiest picture for the CDU, and specifically for their new leader. Only time will tell whether he can hang on to the CDU leadership, and if he'll end up becoming the CDU-CSU's chosen candidate for the chancellorship. The only source of comfort for him being that 5 separate polling firms all put the CDU-CSU union firmly ahead at 35 to 2.95% of the vote, ahead of their closest rivals, the Greens, at between 20 and 17%. But even then, not too much comfort can be taken, as the CDU-CSU has been on a gradual decline since mid-2020. But what do you think? Is the CDU best placed to win the federal elections later this year? And should Laschet be the CDU-CSU candidate? Or are these regional elections the early warning signs of things to come? As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we release a new video. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible. And if you want to see your name at the end of videos, then you too can back us on Patreon. The link to that's in the description.